Sorry, due to technical difficulties beyond our control, we are a little bit behind today. Only 25 minutes fashionably late, but nonetheless, we'll make up for it in quality because we have a great guest this evening. Here with us tonight is Mark Patterson. Mark, the voice, all.
Can you guys still see me?
We can still see you, yes. Can awesome. You see us?
Yeah, I can see you guys. Yeah. Just the phone charger cord playing. Just on the floor, please.
So we call Shawn Swiss Army Shawn, and right now he's a silent Swiss Army Shawn because he's on mute. But just all sorts of difficulties. But you are truly the do-it-all guy at Mountaineer Park. I mean, what don't you do there?
Well, my background's pretty extensive. I'm a classic jack of all trades. You know, I'm a racing official. My technical title in the morning is assistant racing secretary, which kind of makes me Mr. Spock in the racing program. Captain Kirk tells me what to do, and I supervise the crew. And then his boss, I guess, would be the Starfleet commander. Check eligibility on entry, check weights, set races up to be drawn in accordance with the rules, a whole lot of stuff, supervise the race hustling. And I have been the chief recruiter for the West Virginia Derby for a long time. I have worked virtually every job in officialdom. I have been an identifier, paddock judge. I have worked as a steward. I have served as a racing secretary. I have operated an infield teletimer. I have been a clocker. You name it, I've done it for 30 years. But I was a degenerate horse player a long time before.
It's past tense?
I became a racing official. Yeah, and 1989, I went straight from the grandstand down into the racing office. And in a lot of ways, I never came back upstairs again, straight from the grandstand. And I also host a Mountaineer simulcast show. And so I'm also the morning lines maker. I have done probably 40,000 races as an official odds maker. So I could go on and on and on and on. But a lot of boring stuff, a lot of stuff that your viewers will probably find very non-interesting, you know.
So let's talk about the interesting stuff then. You come from a family of pilgrims and folks who hung out with outlaws. Which side of the barbecue do you hang out on?
Where did you guys get that stuff from?
Come on, man. You don't think I do my job? That's true, or is it not true? It's true.
You've done some research. Yeah.
He's unquestionably rich.
Yeah, on my dad's side, I am a direct descendant of Roger Williams, who was the founder of religious freedom in America.
Mm-hmm.
Tolerance. He got kicked out of freaking Plymouth Rock because he said, I'm not going to tell these people how to worship. It's not my place. I'm just going to go with the flow. If they want my advice, that's cool. So his reward from that is he got banished. So he went and started his own state, started Rhode Island, and made it a bastion of religious freedom. I read a book about him a couple of weeks ago, and it was titled Roger Williams, Forgotten Colossus. A colossus in history, but a guy who you just don't read a lot about or hear a lot about. And there's no surviving likeness of him. Nobody ever painted his portrait because he was in the wilderness and did a lot of heroic things and was an admirable guy. I don't know what happened to my genetics.
Well, you were on the other side, the folk that hung out with the outlaws, right?
Yeah, my mom's dad was like, and I kid you not, like.
Well, wouldn't that make that your grandfather?
Well, yeah, close to 90 when she was conceived. This is true. He must have been quite a man out there in the prairie.
Yes. Let
me put it to you like that. But anyways, he was notorious. He was a notorious bad man who rode with a hole-in-the-wall gang and who had been acquainted, I think, with some surviving members of the James gang. And urban legend is he killed like 15 or 16 guys. I can't attest to that, but if I seem conflicted by both sides of my pedigree, I think you guys can probably excuse me because I have like one of the all-time religious leaders in America, religious pioneer, an icon on one hand, and a vicious killer, a bad man of the Old West on the other.
So they really, quite literally, you have the good angel and the bad angel on your shoulders.
Yeah, I do, yeah. And I know you guys know this, but I was a player a long time before I became a racing official.
Mm-hmm.
Since I was 8 years old. I'm 64 and started redeforming, I think it was 9, 10.
And then you started helping some entrepreneurs with their picks, right? Before you got into the racing business officially.
Well, let me put it to you guys like this. The 80s was kind of a lost decade for me. And you know what I did? I later on, and I watched Knots Landing and Falcon Crest. And that's how I traced my decade. And handicap for guys who carried some big bankrolls and had no visible means of support. It was just how I rolled back in the 1980s. Man, those guys would carry some freaking cash. It was just incredible. Those are fond memories for me, but I wouldn't want to relive it. I wouldn't want to go through it again because a lot of ups and downs, a lot of volatility in that kind of a life, man. It's a ride. It's a roller coaster ride. There's a lot of pressure too.
I imagine because there's a lot more at stake than winning and losing.
Well, when you handicap for guys, you know, for a living, and that's what you do, and those guys bet huge money, it is incumbent on you to produce and perform.
Absolutely.
I literally, at one time, I literally had some of those guys like competing for my services. But you know what, though? It's not all sunshine and lollipops. I mean, those are some bad dudes, and you do not want to forget it. You do not. I remember one time when I was infatuated with a young lady, and she was distracting me, or so these guys thought. So anyways, I went to the races one cold winter afternoon, and my main patron, I should say, who was a high-ranking member of whatever organizations might happen to come to mind for you guys. So I told him, I said, I'm going to mark your program, and then I got to split. I got to go. So he gives me like a look of like stern disapproval because the chick showed up, and we were going to split, go do something else for the day. And I marked this program. So I get back to the races just a couple of minutes before they're going to close their doors. And I check the old results they used to hang up on the wall. Dudes, I ran the freaking card. I mean, nothing I picked did not win, mostly at a price. It was the day of my life. So I ran into this guy, and I said, great, it had to go well, right? And he said, you know what, kid, they always called me Kid or Marky. He said, you know what, Marky? He said, kid, ba-ding, I got shot out a couple of times. I used the wrong numbers a couple of times. It's just a classical myth you're going to get from a lot of guys. Things just didn't roll our way. I'll see you tomorrow. So at this point, man, you know, I'm disappointed because I'm thinking I got a lot of money coming, a lot of bread. And I said to him, I said, you know what? I can't work for nothing, man. If you didn't score today and really knock it out of the park, then I don't know if we can do business. Well, this is not the way you talk to this guy. But I was desperate. I was in need of money, in need of funding. So he said, I'm really disappointed that you're calling me a liar. I said, I'm not calling you a liar, man. I'm not calling you a liar. I said, but I just can't work for nothing, not even for you, not for anybody. So my brother and I were living in this decrepit mobile home across the street from the racetrack. We loved it. It was party 24/7 and right next to the races. And so I hear a little tap on the door, cold winter night. I'm sitting there reading a racing form. We're going to run the next afternoon. Open the door, and there's this guy. He's got some dude with him whose guns are the size of my thighs, and I'm not a small guy. I mean, this guy's got guns, and he's got a piece of leather in his hand. God knows what kind of device this was. Some kind of a ball bearing, and he's slapping it on his hand like that. Bang, bang, bang. So I said, come on in, guys. Now, this is a tense situation. So the main guy said to me, he said, kid, he says, I really can't let you get away with calling me a liar. I said, man, I'm not calling you a liar. I said, but I can't work for nothing, dude. This arrangement's not going to work. It's not happening for me. So at this point, if I give in, I'm not going to see a dime, not a penny. But when I don't, the alternative's starting to look a lot worse, a whole heck of a lot worse. So I grit my teeth, stand my ground. He looks at me, cocks his head. He looks at Mr. Clean. Mr. got the piece of threatening leather in his hand.
Uh-oh.
And it looks like he came back. The guy, right? Came back telling this story.
So
we said we were having technical difficulties,
yeah.
right? So there we go. Right in the middle of a great story, we get a technical difficulty. Hopefully he comes back momentarily, right?
Hopefully he realizes it and doesn't keep telling the story.
It probably is telling the story without realizing it. But it takes a minute for it to show up on the other end. Usually what happens on your side, if you're not watching, if you're not in, there's like a little circle that goes like, ooh, like you just got flushed down the toilet or something. Looks like you're getting a text, huh?
No, I'm texting him to make sure we can get him back on.
Right. So in any case, Shawn, let's talk a little bit about the wise guy. He disappeared now. Hopefully he'll come back. But if he doesn't, let's talk a little bit about the news of the day. And this is not really a horse racing related thing, but this is in a sense horse racing related. And that's Mattress Mack, Shawn. Now, guy took the Bengals, the underdog. And what have I always told you when you're playing the underdog, Shawn, in with professional football?
Which part?
Okay, there's one thing I always say you have to do when you're taking the underdog. So many times you
take the points. Take the points. Yeah.
Take the points. And what does he do?
Takes the money line.
Well, we were going to add, hopefully he'll be back because Shawn texted him. So just a little bit of technical difficulties with the phone. I heard him say that he had to get the cord plugged in. So maybe his phone lost, maybe his iPhone or his whatever phone he had lost power. Because if you notice halfway through,
his lighting,
the lighting went down. So I'm guessing that the phone ran out of power.
The lighting was actually perfect. It went off as he was telling the story,
Like he was in witness protection or something for a moment there. But if Mattress Mack had watched you and I talk about sports in the past, Shawn, he would have known that you take the points with the underdog, and instead of losing something around 9.5 million, Shawn, he would have won around $8 million.
Yeah, now I will say that I don't always take the points, but anytime it's over 3, I'll take the points. So he was getting 4.5 points. So I would have definitely taken the points in that situation.
Ooh, 4.5 points is right. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure when you go make a bet like that, though, there's like there's got to be some line negotiation, don't you think? Even though it's a money line.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope. I don't know. I'll never experience that because I'll never have that kind of money to lay on one single bet. I can tell you.
He's trying to come back in, but it's saying that the device is not connected again. They will need to connect their microphone and camera before you can add them. So tell him that he's got to click on the there he is. He's back. All right, you're back. We don't know what happened to you there.
Am I back?
We thought the guy showed up for round 2.
I lost you guys for a minute there, but I can't hear you guys.
Can you hear me? No, you can't hear us now, huh? No, you're muting yourself. We'll take him off, Shawn. Just text him, Shawn. Let him know he's muting himself and that we'll bring him back in. Let me see if I can unmute him. I can. He has to unmute himself. Text him and let him know he's on mute, but he might not be able to see that. Mark, you're on mute. We're going to get to see you. Let's get to see his whole house now. All right, so let's move him out. So he's coming in with a different device now. This is really the most technically difficult show we've had, right, Shawn?
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
All right, so let's see what we got over here now. Hold on. Are you with us voice-wise?
Am I?
Yeah, we can hear you. So I guess we'll just kind of roll this way. Maybe what you can
see you guys.
You can see us, but we can't see you. All we see is a circle.
Cool.
Maybe what you can do is put your phone on you, and then we'll go audio one way and phone the other way. This would be called ad-libbing. So, yeah. But in any case, you were telling us about them showing up with the leather and the ball bearing.
Yeah, so okay, we're going to dispense with the picture.
No, you can put the picture on you. That's fine. We'll just use the one for the picture and the other one.
You know what's happening here?
There you go.
My phone is somehow channeling through my computer here.
Oh, well, we have the phone on one, so we can see you if you put the phone down. So we'll use the phone for the video and the computer for the audio, and we'll got it all worked out.
Actually, it's the phone cam that's picking up on my other device, my computer now.
Ah, all right. Well, we can see you. We have a little bit of much headroom, so if you can just tilt the phone down a little bit. There we go.
Is that good?
That's good enough for where we're at.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll go in profile here. So anyway, So this guy, so then he looks at me a long time, he smiles, and then he reaches in his pocket and he pulls out a roll that you wouldn't believe. You never seen anything like it. And starts counting off $100 bills. Bang, 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 bang. Throws about, I don't know, a couple of $1,000s on the table, maybe more. I breathed a deep sigh of relief. He said, I'll see you tomorrow, kid, at Postum. I said, yes, you will, man. Yes, you will. So I was still employed, and I still had all my limbs, all my fingers, all my toes. I had no black eyes, had no shiners. But that was a colorful life, man, colorful life. And then I got a shot to go in a racing office because I knew this kind of life was not sustainable. So I got a shot to go in the office, became an official, and just gradually worked my way up. And then I got a chance to do the West Virginia Derby with Chris Lincoln on ESPN. I never even given a speech in school. I was nervous as hell. And he was a really calming influence. He was my mentor, my first television mentor. I've been supplying him with advanced information for the West Virginia Derby for him to come in and do his broadcast. So he's like visiting royalty. He's like a great king, who was ridden into our land, And so at our Derby draw breakfast, the ceremonial thing, he stands up and says, you know what, I found my co-host for the Derby telecast on ESPN, Mark Patterson. So I'm looking around at, like, is there another Mark Patterson here? Is there somebody else here with that name? And so then I did it. It went over pretty well. It went over okay. And then when our own show opened up a couple of years later, we were just off and running. Nancy and I had a female co-host at the time, and she was no more experienced than I was. We just kind of winged it. We just kind of went from scratch. And you know what? I decided to do the kind of show I would like to watch. I knew that the shows that were already on were, for the most part, I'm not going to knock anybody. There's some really good shows out there. There's some excellent thoroughbred analysts. I never watch them. I really don't care what they have to say, and I'm sure they care less what I have to say. But I had no template, except I did not want to do the standard thing. The 3 is consistent. The 4 has some speed. And the 5 is well connected with a good trainer. No. Why waste time? Why waste time with something like that? So I decided to take a much deeper dive, to do a more intense analysis, and to be candid, to be outspoken. I was one of the first guys, if not the first, to absolutely crush jockeys. I to compare trainers, some unfavorably to others. And man alive, did I get heat for it. It was very uncomfortable. I was not popular with a backstretch set, but it was the kind of show that I wanted to do, and I was going to give it all that I had. And every race to me was and still is like the 7th game of the World Series, because you can bet it's important to somebody. I'm not going to blow it off. You know what? I will literally give the same attention to a $5,000 maiden race that I will an open allowance, because that could be a key leg for you in some kind of a horizontal. You could be watching, you have a horse in there, and you've been looking forward to the race, or you just may love somebody. I want to make a big laydown, but I'm not going to blow it off. I'm not going to do it. Sometimes it gets a little over intense, maybe my particular brand of analysis. So I break it up. I keep it real. I'm notorious for talking movies and going off topic back and forth. I'm scatological in that regard. But you can't just keep pounding hardcore analysis into people without a little break, without a little respite a couple of times a night. I truly believe that. I really do. And I keep it real. I am probably ADD because I skip from one topic to another. I do it in my real life too. The same exact thing. I can't write anything longer than a magazine article, and I've penned a lot of magazine articles for racing magazines and stuff like that. And I've been taking over the novel now for a couple of years. And the problem is I can't sit down and focus for more than 15, 20 minutes. Now, some of that is being indoctrinated to racing. Just like I said one time on another podcast, I'm locked into this 25-minute
interval
corridor intervals. Yeah, I live my life in 25-minute chunks. I really do. I watch TV for 25 minutes. I get up and walk around for 25 minutes. I eat my dinner for 25 minutes. I sit and handicap the races for 25 minutes. So it's just what I do. So it naturally follows that when I do a television show, it's going to reflect that. I'm going to jump around a little bit from topic to topic. It's just how it is. I was unsure when I started it to do it the way that I do. and to go at it as hard as I do, as intense as I do. But there was a market for it. There was an audience for it, even at a track Mountaineer size. And that kind of surprised me, but I just ran with it. And the show, knock on wood, it really took off. It's been extremely popular. Seems like I spend half my day answering fan texts.
Mostly
right
good,
now.
I hope.
Even more, yeah, very, very few negative ones. Very few, because if somebody takes the time to text you, it's usually something positive. They usually want to be friends, or they want to talk about horse racing. Maybe Mahoning, maybe Mountaineer, because I've put it out on the air a lot of times. And when Mountaineer's not running, then I play Mahoning. I play Mahoning so I can eat in the wintertime. I play it seriously. I don't play more than one track for the most part. I'm not one of these guys who goes to simulcast and does Jordan Parks. I was doing really, really well at Mahoning because I focus intently on Mahoning. It's been a really good meet so far, but I will be honest. I cooled off a little bit before this spate of cancellations. I took some tough beats. I won't go into all the gory details, but it's been a good meet for the most part because I focus. I put in the work. I use Formulator. I keep assiduous bias notes. Mahoning is my total focus, and my weakness is action bets. My weakness is I can get a little bit impatient because I really don't have the taste anymore to sit around the darkened simulcast hall all day like I did when I was younger. If I can avoid making action bets and betting races that I don't have a real strong opinion on, and not ever playing a track that I don't have some kind of an edge concerning, then I do pretty well. But I am a grinder. I'm not a guy who shoots for big scores. I shoot for consistent money. I shoot to bring something home. In other words, if I call an 8-1 winner, a 6-1 winner, I got to see something in my pocket. I can't be one of these guys who walks around gnashing my teeth and lamenting that I didn't hit the gimmick. Doesn't mean I won't put a little bit into the gimmick, but my primary focus is going to be to win in a situation like that, because if I'm correct, I need to see something. I can't just go on to the next time and say, oh, well, I missed the trifecta. I missed the exacta. I missed the daily double. I can't do that. But, yeah, I do focus a lot on Mahoning, and it's been a pretty good meet. A lot of it comes down to track bias. That's one way that I'm trying to take an edge. And I know the horses pretty well, and I know the riders. I know the quirks of the surface over there. And Mahoning is an extremely quirky place. I must have mentioned 25,000 times on my show that I bet Mahoning when we're down. And so naturally, all my fans, all the Mountaineer fans, they want to get in on that. They want a piece of it. And I'm getting more and more and more texts, guys who want to consult on Mahoning, and guys who want to, guys who want to put their picks on me and just, whatever, go back and forth. It's not always they want to consult me or they want my opinion. Sometimes they want to give me their opinion, and that's cool. I love to go back and forth with horse players. I enjoy it very much. But in answer to your question, yeah, I've been doing well.
So do you mostly do win bets, or do you do any other like vertical bets like you mentioned?
Jordan, I am the all-time worst at verticals. I don't know.
You don't know Shawn, do you?
I am. Horizontal would be more up my alley. And on an exact, I would never go. On a vertical, I would never go any lower than an exact. I'm not looking at trifectas. I'm not looking at superfectas. I like to bet daily doubles. It is a rarity when I play a pick 4. Almost never a pick 5. And just very occasionally a pick 3. But only then if I have a contrarian opinion. It does me no good to wager. No good whatsoever if my opinion is not at least somewhat unique to the crowds. That is my edge. And you got to sit very patiently and wait for that. I don't understand guys that go to simulcast and jump up like a jack in a box every time one field crosses the wire to the next racetrack that's loading into the gate. They can't possibly have an edge. And they should acknowledge that the smart money at those tracks knows more about those venues than they do. I mean, dude, I've been handicapping horses since I was 9, 10 years old. God knows how much money I've put through the windows. And if I walked into simulcast just cold and open a racing form without anything to append my knowledge with, having watched no replays, having put together no bias notes, having no particular knowledge of how the surface plays or feeder tracks, what feeder tracks happen to do well at a given venue, they would rip me a new one. I would be panhandling and asking for McDonald's money within a week. I don't know how anybody can play that way, but I can't. I can't. The only way I can win is if I focus intently on one track, two at the most, the absolute most, but preferably one. If I have inhuman patience in not playing when I don't have a strong opinion, and if I wait and wait and wait for value for the price that I require. And that's not nearly as easy as it sounds, because it's no military secret that one of the major things that plagues the game now, after they leave the gate, the odds changes. And I say this all the time. It's one of the excuse me, please, just a touch of bronchitis, guys. I'm not sick. I don't have COVID. I do have chronic bronchitis. Never smoked a day in my life. And believe it or not, I'm actually halfway fit for an old fat bald guy, but just a touch of bronchitis. Please excuse me.
Well, Sean's a young and I'm an older fat guy with a little. We have decreasing amounts of hair. That's the only difference.
But one major piece of advice I give people is you have to be realistic about your supposed epiphanies. In other words, whatever I can determine or I can unearth or what I can come up with is meaningless unless it's unique to me. If other people are going to see it, I got to be real about it. Yes, I am a winning gambler, JW, but it took me years to become a winning gambler. A long time. And the main adjustment I had to make was my attitude, and to stop gambling for sport, to stop gambling for entertainment, to never ever chase in races that I don't like. To accept a losing day is a big, big key to becoming a winning gambler. If you can't walk out of there and say, okay, they got me today, period, good on them, I'll be back tomorrow, with no particular sense of urgency, just to see what's available, then I'm going to lose unless I can do that. But I can't stress enough. If you're standing in line and you are contemplating a wager, and I don't hit for homers, I don't hit for singles, I take what comes. I bet a lot of long shots, and I bet some favorites too. I'm not one of these guys that's going to stand here and lecture, don't ever bet a favorite. My policy is this when it comes to a short price horse. I will not play a short price horse that I don't think is akin to a cinch. Even then, I have a minimum price that I'll accept on a short priced horse, but that entails some knowledge, an expert guesstimate of what the price is going to be, because legitimate favorites tend to plummet after the fields leave the gate. If you're not aware of
about those, you've talked about the syndicates, and I've seen you many times on the show talking about the syndicates, and I get the feeling you're not a fan, so you must like the way NYRA or NYRA does it.
Computer syndicates don't intimidate me if I know the venue, because I think a lot of it is feel. I think a lot of it is instinct. I am not a guy who uses a system. I'm not a guy who over-relies on speed figures. I look a lot at race flow, a lot at race shape. And even that is kind of a topic within a topic, because everybody bets the race flow anymore. Everybody bets the race shape. If handicappers are being honest, the first thing they do when they open the form is look for lone speed. The second thing they do is look for speed-laden races and meltdowns, which I understand engender a lot of big scores for a lot of players. But my main hits and my main focus is when I disagree with the public about how a race is likely to unfold. Going contrarian on the odds board is one thing, but if you can confidently go contrarian on the race flow, that is something a little more sophisticated and something I think that can be a little bit more profitable. So if I'm even sitting at simulcast and I'm taking a look at a track that I am playing for the day, it doesn't even matter if I disagree a little bit with the public about who the primary contenders are. If I agree with the gestalt that's on the board, or how the race is going to play out, how it's going to unfold, and that's always reflected in the board big time, then I probably won't play the race, because I'm looking for spots that I think are going to play out a little differently, pace-wise, position-wise. I'm a position handicapper to a great extent than the public does. But You got to be realistic about what the closing odds are going to be. I can't tell you, man, I learned this the hard way in the School of Hard Knocks. I can't tell you how many times over the years that I stood there and thought, okay, this is great. This is fantastic. I'm getting 2-1 on a horse that I think should be 6-5. I make my bet. By the time I'm back at my seat and the field breaks, bang, 4-5.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? And I'm human. I'm sitting there thinking, how could I be this freaking stupid? I knew where the money was going to go because the syndicates are not unpredictable. And they do make mistakes, but you better be patient.
Mm-hmm.
You better be extremely patient, and you better wait them out.
That's what I like about NYRA is that they have the 3 minute before the gates close that the syndicates have to be in.
Oh yeah. I don't bet a lot of New York because, I know guys that are ace handicappers that are either professional players or semi-professional players. And the first thing they say is that circuit is next to impossible to beat. And I know this much. I know that the New York circuit, especially Aqueduct in the wintertime, is not something I want to tackle on a recreational basis. I mean, there's no way I would tackle that circuit unless it was my sole focus, unless I was thinking about it day and night. And probably had a backlog of experience as to how the track plays, some of the trends is related to weather, even the outfits, even the barns. That kind of familiarity with the circuit can help you immeasurably. There can be two trainers. One of them can be 1-4-30. The other can be 2-4-41. And you have to draw on hard-earned experience to know which of those trainers is unlikely to win another race within the next 5 years. And this is not always clear statistically. And which of them is overdue to go on a hot road, to go on a run. And unless you know a circuit, unless you're intimately familiar with the history of the horsemen involved, then you're going to be completely out in the cold. And you're going to walk into so many bad bets just based on the trainer factor that you won't even believe. You don't even know why your money is going away and beginning to disappear. These are the kind of things that are ingrained there. If you're really, really familiar with the circuit, even horses, the form doesn't tell at all. You know what the form is? The racing form is a piece of paper with some black ink on it. And it is a very obtuse and sometimes inaccurate way to describe a living, breathing thoroughbred creature. Now, if I know this creature and I watch the film on all of his races that he runs at Mahoney or runs at Mountaineer, I know what his tendencies are. I know a lot more about that horse than the form shows. A whole lot more. There are some horses that strike me as counterfeit, maybe based on one performance, maybe based on multiple performances. I am almost invariably correct in these instances, and a lot of times it is not apparent on the form. Other horses, a horse of similar ability, similar achievement, maybe a similar price in the same freaking race, okay, might have some heart, might have a little bit of racehorse in him, and I'm pretty good at picking up on that too. And it is not always between the lines. It's just not always there. I am something of a visual handicapper. I'm into trips, but not necessarily treble trips, because I think they're overbet, which a lot of players would agree with. I'm a lot more about the race flow. I'm a lot more about who had things in their favor positionally, who had the race shape up to suit them. I look at that a lot too. I think the break call is the most underrated call in thoroughbred racing. And I think when players throw up their hands and curse the gods of fate after the horse breaks poorly, I think a lot of times it's predictable. I'll give you a good for instance. The break call, supposedly, if you talk to trackmen across the country, and I know a few of them, I know some really good ones, some really good trackmen, they will tell you and look you straight in the eye with a straight face and say they catch it right at the break. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't have that human capacity to do it. And if you correlate the break calls on the form with the replays that you watch, you can see they make the break call once the field is well underway. They're not catching it right on the snap. So if you want to know how horses break, how they actually come away, the minute the man says go, you have got to keep a mental log on horses, and you got to watch closely. You got to watch head-on replays, and it will come into play in so many instances because it is so closely tied to distance. For instance, if you bet a horse, a 6 furlong speed horse, at 5 or 5.5, even if he is fast enough, in traditional terms, fractions, quarter, and half, to get the lead, or to go up and compete for the lead, there is that unspoken element of quickness. And you better look at the break cone. You better look at it carefully, because if this horse is coming away from the gate, 5th out of 7, 4th out of 6, an occasional 3rd out of 10, you back him up to 5/8 and you shroud him in the gate, not with faster horses, but quicker horses. If you think he's going to come away in a manner that pleases you, you are delusional. So many bad breaks are completely predictable. And I think that just goes right over the public's head in so many instances. I go on a distance of ground. I think some things when it comes to the break and the first thrust of the first turn, I think are misperceived and totally misunderstood by a lot of players. If you have a distance race that starts close to the first turn, that puts a premium on the break. What do you think front-running route horses do? The front-running 6 furlong horses don't. They nail the break, baby, because it's a quick dash to the first turn. And it's a knack. It's just a special knack. I was watching a Western for like the zillionth time a couple of nights ago. It was Heaven with a Gun. So Glenn Ford's the good guy, and Chief Clifford from McLeod's the bad guy. So Chief Clifford, he's hired to kill Glenn Ford. So he says, well, Jim Boy, did you ever draw from a sitting position? In other words, he's going to pull his gun on him, and they're sitting across the table. He says, it takes a certain knack. Well, so does route speed. Route speed is a completely different knack than sprint speed. It's not a matter of degree. It's not a matter of who's faster. It is a different knack. And if you start focusing more on the break and which of the front-running horses comes away the first couple of jumps in a quicker manner, then you will be surprised how often the practiced route horse dispenses with stretch-out sprinters without breaking a swing. Just a couple of
questions.
Subtleties there. I am blabbering on too much.
No, we're just listening.
Good. Hey, question: what's upcoming at Mountaineer this year? Any new jockeys? Any jockeys to specifically pay attention to that's going to jump up? Trainers.
Well, the one thing I'll get to that part of it in a second, Shawn. This guy and I were in cahoots before on an article he wrote about last year's West Virginia Derby, Rich. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Shawn's kind of a sleeper, though. I know the guy a little bit. That was a good article you did, too, about the Derby.
Thank you.
We do have the Derby this year. And as always, it's going to be the first Saturday in August. Special daytime post. It's always 2 p.m. I think our opening night, man, I should know this, is April the 18th. Jay Bernardini was our top trainer last year. He's a guy who just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and has been positioning himself to dominate the action for years. He is a really nice guy. I'm really good friends with Jay. I'm good friends with Eddie Klauston, too, his arch rival. Anyways, Jay and I text back and forth all the time. And Jay is very personable, very outgoing. He's really good with owners. He takes time with his owners. So consequently, he's got more clients than he can handle. But he is a cutthroat competitor, is Jay Bernardini. And he is a turf specialist and a very tough guy to beat on the grass. And Jay's got a special knack for buying horses that can go either way. They can also win washed-off turf races, which is kind of unique. Grass racing, obviously, is it's our signature, guys. It's what we do. It's what differentiates us. Because you can drive 5 hours in any direction and not find any other turf racing. Mountaineer is it. Mountaineer is the only game in town if you want to run on grass. So consequently, our best races are on turf. We get horses for turf that we wouldn't get that quality of horses on dirt. That's no secret. It's nothing we try to hide. We're proud that we have a grass course, and it has proven quite an attraction for us. But it's something else too, Shawn, in kind of an oblique response to your question. Another one of our specialties, unabashedly, is cheap racing. And I don't mean it's a cheap product. I mean, they are cheap horses. You know what, though? Cheap horses can be a delicious kind of vanilla. People don't need a boutique meet like Saratoga or Del Mar. They don't need a 12-horse gate of classified allowance horses going some obscure mile and 3/16 distance with a bunch of lookalike forms. People want horses they're intimately familiar with. They want horses that are consistent, that have heart, that always deliver, and preferably with well-defined running styles. I've said it on another podcast once, and I firmly believe this. I sometimes suspect that some of the horses at Mountaineer are nearly as well known in a lot of households, and I call it Mountaineer Nation. It's a term I coined for Mountaineer's rather ardent fan base. I've been called a cult leader. I don't know if I dig that or not, the whole cult thing. But
depends on the kind of cult.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
if it's Jim Jones or or Hugh Hefner, I mean, the cult matters.
Well, but some of those horses I think are almost as well known in some houses. Some of the horses that are national names, like on the Derby Trail. You see the overnight, you recognize them, and I think a lot of players know off the bat who they like because our horses become familiar to them. And second careers always have great stories behind them. It's always fascinating, and they don't lose the ticker, they don't lose the heart, they lose a step of speed. But we staged some very, very competitive races. It is not uncommon for us to have a bottom condition race, and if you add up the aggregate earnings, it might be $2.5 million. They might have 60 wins amongst them, amongst like 7 or 8 horse field. It happens all the time. It truly does, and I think that's part of our appeal too. Our top jocks, when it comes to our riders,
about Charlie Oliveros on the turf.
Well, you get some shipping Cleveland jockeys that moonlight here. But not a whole lot. A good thing to watch for, and I know one guy that makes a living doing this, is when the jock ships in to ride the horse and the horse is not real obvious. And the horse doesn't show up. But amongst the Mountaineer jockeys, when Luis Quinones went down year before last, it left a huge void at the top of our jock standings. And then COVID came into play. And for a long time, Thistledown jockeys and jockeys from other venues, they just couldn't ride here with all kinds of medical releases and negative COVID tests and a lot of different things. And some of our guys really stepped up and showed that they really can ride if you put them on the best horse, that they are skilled craftsmen in their own right. And we have some guys like an Oliveros, like a Lucy Hernandez. Some of these guys are literally riding in career form, and they're not spring chickens. These are not young dudes. Guillermo Rodriguez is a guy I'm a huge fan of. And I wonder just a little bit now if we're going to get him back, at least on a full-time basis. Eddie Clouston brought him here. Eddie Clouston, who took over as our perennially top trainer a couple of years after Dale Beard's unfortunate and premature demise. You guys, I know, are familiar with Dale Beard. You've heard of him. And he brought G-Rod in here, Guillermo Rodriguez. But Rodriguez won 5 in a row one day at Mahoney several weeks ago and is more than holding his own now. And Ohio has better purses than we do. So I suspect he now has a toehold over there. And I'm not saying there's going to be an empty chair at the table when it comes to the Mountaineer Jocks room. I think he will probably do both, go back and forth a little bit. But I would not be surprised to see him focus a little more on Ohio than he does on West Virginia this year. And as far as the turf cancellations, yeah, they drive me crazy. They absolutely drive me crazy. Excuse me, in response to a question out there. But you have to understand too, if you're going to card grass races, it goes with the territory. It's nobody's fault, Jordan. We get a lot of rain in the springtime. We can hold back and not card them until maybe in July or something like that. We'd rather take a chance though, because it's a great spectacle. The horsemen love it. Our horses seem to frolic on it. They have more longevity. Turf horses are more consistent. They're more playable. The races are more watchable. We get bigger fields unless they come off the grass. So I think we're always going to take a shot in card grass races. And when they come off, we're going to have to take our medicine because you're going to get a whole lot of scratches. Some of the scratches puzzle me. I mean, they really do. How many times do you see a grass race flip over to dirt And the two best dirt horses in the race scratch. I mean, bang, they're out. They're gone. There is no human explanation for that. But yeah, it's unfortunate. It wears on us when it happens. A lot of grass cancellations and the consequent scratches. The big boss at Mountaineer, Jim Colvin, who's director of racing, who is the boss of myself and our racing center at our cabbage. You want to avoid him when the races come off the grass, because when the horses start to scratch one by one by one, he is not a good humor. But we're always going to card them, and we're always going to take our medicine when they come off. And yet it's kind of a rainy season here in April and even May. It's just how it is.
In the spring, for sure.
Yeah.
Question now, out of all the stuff you do, what's the hardest thing off the camera that you do? And also, does doing all that stuff give you an edge on which horse to play?
I never, ever. I do think my work as a racing official informs my commentary as an analyst, because I can go behind the scenes. I can pull the curtain around, and I can teach my viewers how races are constructed, how things are truly done behind the scenes. I can get them inside the heads of a lot of horsemen. I can get them inside sometimes the agents' minds and why they operate the way they do, and just a lot of info about why things work the way they do, which does not endear me to the people who I'm exposing, so to speak. Nothing really wrong about it, nothing really negative, but I usually go too far and say too much about horsemen and jockeys and agents than they really want to hear presented on national, international television. But I do think my work as an official, eligibility and weights are my stock in trade. I can usually pick up on quirks, idiosyncrasies for advanced players. I probably preach to the choir a little more than I should, but I have been told that I'm accessible to novice players also. I try to break the fourth wall. I try to talk directly to them, and hopefully they can glean something from it. But yeah, I do believe my work as an official informs my analysis. I'm also an odds maker, and I have done 40,000 races. But one little trick to the things that I do, guys, when I'm an official and I'm checking weights and eligibility and entries, I'm setting a race up to be drawn, or I'm supervising the crew and hustling the race and trying to scare up some entries. Okay, I never think like an analyst. When I am doing analysis, I don't think like an odds maker. When I'm an odds maker, I don't think like an analyst. I try to think like the public. If there's one
25-minute compartmentalizing.
Well, yeah, perfect term, Rich. You took it right out of my mouth. If there is one thing that allows me to wear so many hats at Mountaineer, it is compartmentalization. And I have a knack for that. I can completely block everything else out and just forget my other duties, And I make it sound more glamorous and important than it is. People sometimes think that I have some pull in Mountaineer. I can't stack all my duties up into a big pyramid and be any bigger than I am. I am what I am. I am a racing official who is not the absolute boss, and I am a television analyst. And as a television analyst, I have zero say into the grand scheme of things, and that is great with me. I love it. I enjoy it. So don't let me make it sound over glamorous or make myself sound more important than I really am. But I am extremely versatile, and I wear a lot of hats. And one way that I'm able to do that is to compartmentalize, especially when I do the odds line.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because that is the part of the job that probably requires the most focus. Because you can be correct, like 5 races in a row. You can be spot on the winner's odds, the place horse's odds, the third horse's odds. You can nail who's going to be the favorite 3 nights in a row in every race. Nobody will notice. Trust me. There's not a living human who's going to text me and say, well, great job of that morning line, Mark. It was just spot on. Maybe one slip up, though. One mistake, which every lines maker does. Every lines maker will make a bad miss occasionally. And when you make a bad miss, man, it's just right there in your face, and there's just nothing you can do about it. So you want to be loose when you make a morning line. You don't want to be too tight, and you don't want to be afraid to take a little shot, a little guesstimate, of something you think the crowd's going to do that you really can't back up with hard facts in your own mind. It becomes somewhat intuitive at some point. I have a lot of philosophies on how to do a morning line, which I won't bore you guys with. But that's the aspect of my work that I think in which it is most important to block other things out.
Well, we'll make sure Shawn texts you the next time you get all 9 right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have the first one.
I think I was rated. I think I was rated the 12th most accurate in America at one time, and I think I just missed the. The line of honor over which you were considered an elite morning lines maker if you can correctly predict the favorite 70% of the time. Of course, that's a function of field size too. And back when I think I was 69.5% at one time. But back then we were running much bigger fields. I'm probably about 70% last couple of years, but field sizes are down all over. Things are hard all over with the horse shortage that continues to plague the industry. Jordan, I rarely put out a pick 4 or pick 5 ticket on air like TVG. You know what? I'm glad that you asked me that. I'm really glad that you did. I want to clarify one thing. It is not a tout show. It's about the commentary. It really is. Hopefully, I can give you a second opinion. Hopefully, I can give you some local knowledge that you may not possess. As far as the selections go, I was reading the other day where somebody wrote, a prominent analyst, that you should back your own selections with real money, or at least have a willingness to do that. And I think what he meant was have done some time in the pits, and I certainly have. To me, that would be a little bit difficult because at a venue Mountaineer size, and trust me, we are disproportionately popular to our size purse payout. We probably give out maybe 1/10 in purses, what we take in and handle, and that's an efficient racing program. But when it comes to the whole tout thing, the whole tip thing, the first thing I advise players is only bet races in which you disagree with me. Because, dude, if I clear my throat about a horse, the price drops 4 or 5 points. I mean, it's not a modest thing to say, but it is true. Serious players know it to be true. And that's fine. If you agree with what I have to say, if I make forceful points that are convincing to you, and I'm not trying to sell you on anything, just give my opinion of a horse, then don't bet the race if the price is too low. But generally, you're going to do better if you restrict your serious action to races in which you disagree with me, because you will find that you tend to get better value on horses that I don't pick, because the minor wagering public is not happy until they pound my picks to absolute smithereens. That's why looking at my ROI, I would be both unfair and highly, highly deceptive, to be really blunt about it. Because if I select the horse on the air that's supposed to be 7-2, trust me, he's going to go 2-1. If I select the horse on the air that's supposed to be 6-1, trust me, he's going to be 3-1, and on and on and on ad infinitum. As far as the horizontals go, I'm going to let you in on just a little bit of a secret, Jordan, and it's probably something I shouldn't even give out or reveal here. I can't tell you how many players text me before the races and want all of my selections in one fell swoop, and I don't do it. I don't do it for anybody. I have really good friends that move the handle at Mountaineer, extremely knowledgeable handicappers that really, really move the handle, determine who's the favorite, who isn't the favorite. And I never give them all my picks at once, because you know what they would do? They would pick and choose. They would play beforehand, not focus on Mountaineer, and focus on another track because they would already have their Mountaineer plays in. And that's no good for us, because believe me, if somebody watches Mountaineer and listens to commentary and gets caught up in the ambiance, and there is something very special about Mountaineer, something almost impossible to find. There's a certain cool. There is just a certain James Dean aspect of Mountaineer the members of Mountaineer Nation are well aware of.
A lot of people probably watching have no idea who James Dean is.
You know,
you got to pick somebody more modern, or is it maybe like The Weeknd or something?
Well, you know, yeah. Well, hopefully, if you tune in, you're getting hooked on my commentary, and if you don't, hopefully you'll get hooked on our program, on the ambiance, on just the real. I mean, Mountaineer is a living, breathing beast. It is a beast. It has quirks, idiosyncrasies. It is not always friendly to the people that play it. And I like to say Mountaineer is a tough. It's a tough ask for any handicapper, but it's worth it. Ultimately, it's worth it. So I don't put out pick fours. I don't put out pick fives. I rarely even put out a daily double. If I really thought the show was about selections and somebody was out there with bated breath for me to vet their pick fives, I might do it. But what if you get a scratch, a pace scratch, an important scratch? Or what if I decide the track is playing a little differently than I had anticipated? And I try to factor that in too as I go along from race to race. So for me, I just choose not to give selections in advance. The only kind of show I want to do is a moving, organic show, a living, breathing thing. That's my strength. It's the only kind of show that I know how to do.
All right. Any other questions, Shawn?
No, I think that's it. I appreciate it, Mark. Definitely have you on again, and we can. I know you got definitely a lot more to talk about.
You know what? Though, once you get me wound up, I can't stop, guys.
You're so good, we need you twice on the show at the same time.
Right? You know what, Rich and Shawn? Thanks for the opportunity. I love to talk races. You know, my brother always says, when somebody mentions my TV persona to him, he says the same way off camera. He's the exact same guy. He's been the same guy his entire life. And I would, seriously, if I wasn't doing a show, I would be pontificating in some simulcast center. I'm trying to tell somebody how much I think I know. I mean, that's as honest as I can be about it, guys. So at some point, you got to shut me up and say, please cease, please desist, Mark.
No, we're not that impolite. We'll just pretend we're having technical difficulties again.
I'm sorry about that, but I'm a low-tech dullard. I mean, even the way I handicap, I wouldn't dream of resorting to some kind of a computer program. I look at form cycles. I try to speculate which horse is going to run big today, situationally, rather than who ran how big last time. But we're not going to get back into all that because I've talked enough, dudes.
Well, we do appreciate you coming on. We will have you back again, Shawn. Let's make sure we talk to Mark before the West Virginia Derby. What do you say?
Shawn did a good job last year too, handicapping the West Virginia Derby. You put out a good article too, and I did.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, when we can get Shawn to do articles, then he puts out good articles. It's just, you got to crack the whip with him to put the articles on. He's got a little bit of ADD too.
I absolutely hate to write. I've done a lot of it, but I hate it because it's hard freaking work.
Oh,
I like to go on TV and just talk off the top of my head. That's easy. There's nothing to that. But when you sit down and put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, so to speak, to me, that's drudgery. That is just. I've been asked a lot of times to do written commentary for different periodicals and the publications that we're going to start up. And you know what? They couldn't pay me enough money for that freaking drudgery. No. It's like if I'm betting another track, if I'm not doing my Mountaineer gig and I'm playing it simulcast, if people picture me there, I'm doing commentary in my own head or trying to explain why I like a horse, they can forget it because it's like a vacation for me when I can do a math problem without showing my work. If the last person in the world I have to explain anything to is myself. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it, I think, too, at its most basic productive level, is a little bit intuitive anyways. And no written analysis from me. No writing from me. You can have it, Shawn.
Any chance you put your picks on the website again?
This is tricky territory, Jordan. I used to blog on the website, and I really enjoyed it. And you know what? I stuck a bee in a lot of bonnets. I like to mess with people. I like to create a little controversy when it's called for. And I started up some stuff in some of my blogs. Some of them were just hardcore handicapping. Some of them took maybe a more, hopefully, poetic, historical approach, a personal approach. My personal favorite is a fictional story that I wrote about a vampire racehorse. I did it for my son, who is totally into the horror genre. We watch horror movies all night, me and him, and barely go to bed. We're so into the horror movies. And I wrote a story called The Darkest Mile, which I've had offers to turn into a graphic novel. It was really well received. And it's my all-time favorite blog. I don't know if the company liked it or not. They never objected when I did that. But most of my blogs are like hardcore racing stuff. I'm meant to stir the pot a little bit. And I hope at some point the website is formatted. Century's website is formatted in such a manner as there is a place for me to blog, because I do think, false modesty aside, I could pull in a lot of eyeballs if I started a blog again. I mean, a ton. I think I do.
Yeah, I would like to be a little bit more, let's just say, opinionated, but unfortunately, the tech overlords could us in an instant. So I won't do it. Plus, I got to be diplomatic in any case. We do appreciate your time. I'm sure that you got some other thing to do this evening, maybe even a horror movie with your kid.
My son is going to get home from work probably in about half an hour. And, we just sidestepped the horror genre just a little bit, and we're running through the whole spectrum of Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Because Johnny Depp ain't canceled in this house. he still gets to appear. Not to make light of his alleged misconduct. That is some serious stuff. But nonetheless, we're watching the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. What an underrated performance that was on his part. Captain Jack Sparrow. Who knew this dude was going to sashay out there in the least masculine manner imaginable and act half looped throughout this whole series of movies? But it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I read someplace where he wanted to be half Keith Richards and half Dean Martin. And just a great performance. I can't get enough of Captain Jack Sparrow.
I think he's definitely got the Keith Richards part down. Funny thing is, you mentioned Keith Richards. You'd like to tell. I was on a train one time in Germany, and the Europeans, they love to ride the trains. And I looked across, and there was this dude, and I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, man, that there can't be two people on the planet. Okay, there's the person in Harry Potter that looks like Keith Richards, Darby, I think his name is, and then there's Keith Richards. There can't be a third. Right. And I'm looking at the guy, and he finally looks at me. He goes, "No, I'm not Keith Richards." And I'm like, "Damn it. I know you're Keith Richards." But I just wasn't 100% sure, but
I'll throw one name drop at you. I used to get text all the time from a guy who always signed them, "Your trusting fan Sam. Your trusting fan Sam. Your trusting fan Sam." At some point, he ceased to communicate, whatever the case. But we were getting really, really friendly. And then somebody told me once, "You know who that was? Sam the Sham." Now, I can't verify it was ever him, but somebody told me, that was Sam the Sham. From Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. I could drop some other famous names, but so could anybody else in my position. Because at some point, people bet horses are going to contact you. Jackie Mason's manager made a special request to me to stop at my downstairs dungeon desk every day before I went up to the studio, so he could get my picks, and Jackie could bet my picks before he went on stage, presumably somewhere in the Catskill Mountains or whatever the case. But yeah, I was reading the other day where Johnny Depp was spending like literally $4 million a month, or maybe a little bit more, and his manager said, "Johnny baby, if you keep this up, we're going to have to get the Pirates patch out again."
Probably, for sure. Or he can pay you enough to give him all your picks before the night starts. Right? So if Tom Brady or Rob Gronkowski text you, can you do us a favor? Can you make sure they reach out to us?
You guys are Tom Brady fans?
Well, they both like horse racing. They both go off to the Kentucky Derby every year. And we're trying to build our audience in our show, and we figured if we can get Gronk on, or we can get Tom Brady on, we could talk horses, we could talk football, we can handle all that. But it would also help us grow our show.
As far as football goes, I am a diehard Steeler fan. I live and die with the Steelers. And you know what? One thing that made me a little bit late arriving tonight, other than my technical problems, and issues, which were on my end, guys, not on their end. Blame me. Blame me. You guys out there who are watching this or who may watch it. But anyways, it's because I remember that when I did the Triple Clowns podcast a few weeks back, I had my Steeler hoodie on. And I wanted you guys to think I have two serviceable shirts. So I went and took the Steeler hoodie off and I put this on.
I only have one shirt.
I just had one shirt. I think I have two. I think this is the other one.
I have one. I wear the same hoodie every day. What I do is I change the hue, so some days it looks green and some days it looks black.
You know what? So many days when I go to simulcast, I intend to have a brisk 2-mile walk afterwards, or God forbid, do some steps in a hotel itself, or jog a light mile or something. So I wear functional clothes, man. I wear a hoodie, I wear sweatpants, and I don't present the best appearance, maybe, but I'm comfortable, you know. People knew before I went on television I could talk racing. That was no secret. But they were taking bets about whether I put a tie on. And I can't tie one. I can't tie one, by the way. When I go to the store, they have her dashery. I always tell the chick, it's usually a chick, sometimes a dude, if you can't tie this and tie it in perfect length for me, no sale. No sale, because I can't tie it.
Can you say chick or dude anymore? Or is that like
forever.
against the rules? I'm not sure.
I have ties that haven't been untied for 10 years.
Yeah, my son does the same thing. He'll come downstairs. He has like a meeting he's got to go to. Dad, can you tie my tie? I've shown him about 100 times how to tie the damn tie. He don't know how to tie the tie.
I'm in the same exact boat.
I tried it once and I looked like Wimpy from Popeye. It came like down to here, you know. I can't roll with that.
Yeah. Well, I think I can help you tie one all the way perfectly. No problem. Just so that the point. So what happens is you have that line that lines up with your belt line. That's when you know it's perfectly tied.
I like them a little bit long. For me, it's just a better look if it comes down like to my belt. And I'm not going to complain if it comes a quarter inch over. But I guess the rule is it's supposed to just come right down to the top of the belt.
Mm-hmm. The point, Yeah, that's supposedly the rule. But I don't really care. I like to make sure. For me, it's about the knot and then the crease in the middle of the knot. So that part looks right.
Dude, you're way beyond me now. I strike you as a guy who worries a lot about the crease in or not?
Who's that?
Me.
You probably you do worry about it or you don't?
I don't.
No.
Yeah, I just want to make
And
sure it looks right.
You know what? Obligatory 2 races and the tie gets loosened up.
I'm sure.
2 races and then I feel like I'm eligible to loosen the tie up.
You got to put it like this, my man. Like if you're at a party. All right, folks. We'll let Mark get rolling so that we can get rolling as well. We appreciate your time tonight on 2 screens, and we'll certainly have you back for the West Virginia Derby, if not before then. And if, of course, if you have any questions, or you always know where to find them, but on the internet, do you have a Twitter handle or Facebook?
No, you know what? I steadfastly refuse to do social media. I am intractable on the issue because I despise, hate, revile social media. I don't like it. It's a cesspool, in my opinion. I'm not going to qualify that and say except for this or except for that. No, that's not how I roll at all. I despise social media. It is a cesspool of keyboard warriors. Dudes that live in their parents' basement and want to take cheap shots. Attention whoring. To me, no, never. And right. I've been asked to Twitter. I've been begged to Twitter, like for years by so many people. But I always say I give a standard answer. It's not just that I hate social media, which I do. Oh, do I ever. But also, I'm too outspoken for my own good. I mean, man, I was doing hot takes before anybody knew what a hot take was. And I always say this because it's true. I would not last on social media. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't. And it wouldn't be necessarily because I said something politically incorrect, because I'm not going to get into politics at all here. But I would offend somebody. I would offend somebody with an opinion that was a little bit too sharp about something or some person specifically. And I'd be dead. I'd be absolutely dead and under attack. Within 2 minutes, I would not be on social media.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why I'm not on social media either, because we do it for the business, but I'm not
on social media, Rich?
No, I don't do Facebook. I don't do Twitter. Sean handles all the social media stuff. This is the only social media that I do.
I could be your social media manager, Mark. I could do it for you.
You know what? I've had offers before. I've actually had people tell me that America wants to know what I'm having for lunch, who I like in this Super Bowl, what my attire is for the day, what my itinerary is, what my take is on some European soccer match. I don't know. If they do, they're going to have to live without it. Because I'm not going to pull back that part of the curtain. I'm just not going to do it. I mean, I'm really open about my daily life, and I text back and forth with fans. Dude, I probably get 30 fan texts a day from 30 different fans. And that's enough of myself to put out there. And I would just rather do it on a one-to-one personal basis than on any kind of social media. Social media to me is a ruination of the world.
Yeah, I just don't like the
was that blunt
tough
enough?
guys. Yes, I don't like the keyboard tough guys myself. I've always, when my son was growing up, I told him, you better be careful how you talk to me, because if you want to act like a man, you best be prepared to be treated like a man. So he understood right away what I meant by that, and you don't have that barrier in social media. There's things people would say to you that if you were nose to nose, damn right well they wouldn't utter anything other than hi.
Well, I mean, this will infuriate a lot of keyboard warriors, and I don't care. But a lot of the deal on social media is people that want a platform that don't get paid to have a platform. I get paid to have a platform. I get paid for my opinions, so I don't have to go create some Twitter account or something like that. Pretend like somebody cares about every vacant thought that runs through my mind. I'm not going to. It's suitable for some people. Some guys do a great job when they tweet. I don't read a lot of it, but I'm never going to do that. And I've been asked to a lot, so that was an incisive question, sir, and it has been posed to me before.
Indeed. Alrighty, Mark. This is the third time. We'll let you go for sure.
I told you it's hard to shut me up, Rich.
I thought it's not
Were you not aware of this?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I watch you on the thing, so how would I not be aware of it?
I guess you would be, wouldn't you?
Yes, I watch it. I'm watching the races, and that's how I know about you. And actually, on a show a little bit earlier today, I did a little bit of Mark Patterson impersonation. So you might want to go watch
really?
that. Yeah, I did.
Did you really?
I did.
I'll have to send you a link.
When I find this unflattering, Rich.
No, it'll be flattering. I think it's right on.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Even Terry was like, you know what? That was pretty good.
Well, you know what? Imitations is a sincere form of flattery.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this, my man.
Mm-hmm.
I will get 2 texts tonight. 2 of my texts will say, you were too understated and subdued, even too conversational. And then 2 of my texts will say, man, you're so far over the top on your show. How much caffeine do you consume, dude? So I don't know, which is it? Or do I alternate?
From my perspective?
Yeah.
From watching it, what do I see you as?
Yeah.
I see you as telling a story, and then, doing the pulling the curtain back to reveal Oz, so to speak. That's how I view it when I watch you. And then you talk a lot about, like, I would say the inside baseball, if you will, like you said, what's happening behind the scenes. You talk about things that a lot of other people don't talk about. I've mentioned that you bring up the rebate syndicates, and you talk a little bit about, I hear you a lot of times talking about the horsemen and what you know. So I think you bring more of a different type of insight than, like you mentioned before, where the people come on and go, this horse is 3rd time off a layoff, which is some of the stuff that we do. But we do our own picking show during the day, and I try to look beyond the program as well to find stuff that maybe people are missing that can help them maybe find another horse in their selections.
No, I
might
get
miss.
it. You know what? I actually watched some of you guys in preparation for this because I want to know what I was getting into. Because Shawn didn't tell me a whole lot about what you guys wanted to talk about, and that's cool. That's just fun.
We like to keep it that way.
I watched some of you guys, a pretty good podcast. One non sequitur that I think is one of the new frontiers in thoroughbred analysis, televised analysis. A lot of guys can look at the horizontal pools and give you a really good estimate of what the price is going to be, the closing price on a horse in a lot of instances. But that info is not always available. I think it is very useful, if not indispensable, service to the public if an analyst can come pretty darn tootin' close to predicting what the final odds are going to be. And if there's one part of my analysis I pride myself in particular on, it is that.
Mm-hmm. So you can figure out where the value is, for sure. I agree.
But what I asked you, Rich, you ducked the question. Okay.
No, I didn't duck the question. Do I think you're on too much caffeine, or
One
do I
fan
think you're
says I'm too
understated?
animated, the next says I'm too subdued.
I don't think you're either. I think you are who you are. I mean, I'm not one that really judges people, to be honest. And I know that's kind of like a deflection, but you can ask Shawn. I really don't ever pass judgment on people. I just look at you for who you are, and that's it. And when I watch the show, I see the same person every night. So I don't know.
Well, I would say I'm not gonna say you're definitely not too subdued. So I mean, there you go.
John,
Yeah.
John, if I'm gonna have a bromance with one of you guys, Richard's running way ahead of you.
Okay.
He's got about 5-length lead on you right now, my man.
Oh, that's all right. I'm a closer anyway.
All right, that's cool. Very cool.
But closer that runs into traffic all the time, gets a bad ride from one of those jockeys that seems to always put his horse behind another horse that's backing up. And I think you know the kind of jockeys I'm talking about. He's not the kind of jockey, Shawn, that's going to take his horse 3 pass wide to get in the way of the other horse. That's not Shawn's way.
Quick jockey story, guys. Calvin Stone had to be 70 when he was riding races here on a limited basis. Loved the guy. Had been quite a race rider in his time. They called him the Crying Stone because it had happened when he took a tough beat in a big race. He would cry. He would go back to the jock's room and sob. Like he's kind of an old hippie guy when he gets here, but I used to really dig the guy and hung out a little bit with him. So he told me a story one time. He called me Pat, which always endears somebody to me because my dad was called Pat for Patterson. I never have been, but Calvin did. And immediately he became my friend just based on that alone. So he told me a story one time. This guy had been around a little bit and had ridden with all the best. He said, when I broke my maiden at Aqueduct one day, he said, I don't remember. It might have been 52, 53, whatever. He said, I nipped Arcaro right on the wire. He said, went back to the jock's room, walked around a little bit. He said, Arcaro did not congratulate me. He didn't have a word to say. He said, so I finally went over to him and I said, Eddie, I said, you're my idol. You're my hero. He said, but I beat you, Eddie. You're still the master. Please don't get me wrong. But you are still the master, Eddie. Arcaro just looked at him. Calvin's son said, but I beat you. And then he turned and he walked towards the jock's room door. At which point, and please don't misconstrue this, this is nothing but pure admiration for the old master. Arcaro calls him back over, motions him back over. Says, hey, kid. He reaches in his boot and pulls out a $100 win ticket on Calvin Stone's mount.
Just like the other jockey. What was his name, Shawn? The one jockey who was betting recently.
Michael Sanchez.
Sanchez, yes.
Well, the inference there is that Stone did not win a race on the square.
No, I understood the inference there.
Yeah, let him know, you know.
Yeah,
and I cannot vouch for the veracity of that story. It's probably just an urban legend, you know. But if anything, it increases my appreciation of Arcaro because I'm something of a scoundrel at heart and cut my teeth as a degenerate. But if anything, it only adds to my admiration for him. If the story has even a grain of truth.
I'm sure it's completely true for sure. All right, that's it, folks. We're going to let everybody go tonight. We appreciate it, Mark. You have a great evening. Guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
You guys too.
All right, so now we got to figure out how to turn off everything, Shawn, right? We're having technical difficulties from the beginning and technical difficulties at the end, right?
Right, now we got to get rid of 2 Mark Pattersons.
Yes, indeed. We're not getting rid of them. We're just taking a quick break. But all right, we 100%. That was a lot of fun stuff right there, Shawn. We'll save the news that we were going to talk about for tomorrow. We did talk about the Super Bowl, which I felt was something we could talk about because Mattress Mack bet the most money ever on a horse race and lost that money on essential quality. Now he bet the most money ever on a football game, and he lost the most money ever on a football game because he did not take the points.
Yeah, and what is it? 3 bets in a row now that he's put a lot of money on and lost. So seems like
he won last year, but he did win with Tampa Bay last year. So
he did, but I believe the last 3 he's lost because didn't he have Alabama too?
I don't.
I believe he had
Alabama. Yes, I think he did.
So he's had 3 straight losing bets, a big amount of money. So,
man,
but now some of them are promos that he's getting a bunch of sales with the mattresses or whatever. So
yeah, but I mean, you know how many
he's losing, but
you got to sell, Sean? $3,000 at a time to make $9 million.
Apparently, he's selling a lot.
He better be selling a lot. Next time around, listen to me, buddy. Take the points for sure. So. Speaking of which, tomorrow Terry and I will try to take our points at Parks if it doesn't cancel. It was nicer out by you today, right, Sean? Why did they cancel?
Yeah, I guess the cold. I mean,
cold.
It was 15, 16 degrees. That they're an hour away from me.
You Pennsylvanians are. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and you guys just aren't as sturdy as we used to be out there in the Keystone State.
I don't know. I know we got a little bit, just a nuisance snowstorm, and it was, well, I think it probably was track conditions because it was 60 here on Saturday, and now it's 15 degrees on Monday. So I'm sure the track
never happened before in the history of Pennsylvania.
Hey, I don't know. I don't run parks. I don't know. At least they canceled early enough.
Well, yeah. Well, no, not really, because they canceled right before they were supposed to go live.
Oh,
because they had not canceled yet when Terry and I got started, and he brought it up on the show. So tomorrow we'll be doing Parks. Hopefully they won't have technical difficulties that bring us to the end, and then Terry and I do all that work for nothing. Wednesday we're going to be doing Gulfstream Park. We're not quite sure what we're going to do on Thursday yet because Thursday is going to be Aqueduct normally, but Aqueduct is closed on Thursday. Sean, who do we have tomorrow night?
So tomorrow we have Kendrick Carmouche, and then Wednesday we'll have Jorge A. Vargas Jr. There's 2 Jorge Vargases, so I got to clarify that.
You got the A version, right?
Yes.
And then what about Thursday night?
Thursday night we have Anthony Farrier, a trainer prominently known at Laurel in Charlestown. We'll be covering Laurel. And I did see this morning he has 2 horses in. I think it was race 4 and race 7 for Saturday. So we'll cover at least those 2 and then one other race.
Yeah, we'll cover one other race. The Laurel has these weekends where they have these pop-up, I would say, stakes races where the whole card's $100,000 stakes races. And I go bananas because I have to write commentary for every single one of them. But in any case. All right, Sean, 2 final things before we get up and out of here. We are closing in on our 1,000 subscribers at YouTube. So please, if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. So when we go live, you know about it. We need a few thousand more hours of viewing time to actually start to monetize the channel. So we should have covered a lot of that this evening, I think, for sure.
Yeah. This will definitely help.
That should help. Absolutely. And then, of course, if you haven't done this yet, folks, you can help us out too, Sean, by heading on over to, if you head on over to the Horse Racing Today website, you will see there is a link in the menu for HRT gear. We finally got that up, and we should be having hats to match all of the shirts sometime today. So you have the number 1. I think, Sean, you did a great job on Facebook of putting them together. Let me pull that up real quick. And you'll see you'll be able to get the shirt with the saddle cloth and the hat with the saddle cloth that match, and you head to the track, and everybody is going to know and want to know, where did you get that from? Right, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely. You just got to, buy all 13 if you want, or pick your favorite number, get the hat and a shirt, and take it to the track.
Yeah, so Sean, here, put the image up here on Facebook.
So
you can
the best thing to do is
the 1 and the 1.
13. Yeah, buy all 13, and every time you bet on a horse, just switch out your gear.
Or what you can do is if you take the family out, one person can wear number 1, one person can wear number 2, one person can wear number 3, one person can wear number 4. Have a matching hat, and you'll absolutely be styling at the track, at the club, wherever you're at, Sean. Hell, if we would have had this stuff out before the Super Bowl, I'm sure Snoop Dogg, Eminem, and Dr. Dre would have been all dressed up.
There you go. And that's all the talk would have been about, not none of this other stuff.
Yeah, none of these smoking what you're not supposed to be smoking live during the Super Bowl. All right, Shawn. So that wraps up tonight's show. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time. Hopefully on time tomorrow. Terry and I will be back 12 o'clock Eastern tomorrow to cover parks. And I think I got a new tagline for us tonight from Mark.
Okay. And I don't know.
We'll see
it
you tomorrow night right at the wire. Whoa.
yet.
All right, Shawn. Have a great night. We'll see you all tomorrow
See ya.
at the wire, of course.